Hi folks, HR Funk here. With a little bit of a confession, I have to admit I have been remiss. Yes, hard to believe, but in fact it's true. I have not done a review of my most carried firearm. With all of the firearms reviews that I have done over the course of the past several years, I have never reviewed this particular revolver. It has shown up in several videos, but I've never actually done a full review, which is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to rectify that situation, and we are going to talk about the Smith & Wesson Model 342 Ti. The Model 342 came about in the late 1990s when Smith & Wesson first started to produce their standard alloy J-frame revolver with a titanium cylinder. Prior to that, the alloy frame revolvers that were known as the Airlites, which included the Model 642 and the Model 637, weighed in at a weight, or came in at a weight of about 15.5 ounces per revolver. When Smith & Wesson started to manufacture the Airlite Ti series, they really tried to pare down the weight of these revolvers as far as possible, with the addition of the titanium cylinder and also some other things. For example, the barrel on the Airlite Ti is not all one piece. It is actually a steel barrel liner with an aluminum or an alloy shroud around the barrel. Again, another lightening effort. Also, they tried to mill away any of the metal from the revolver that was not absolutely essential, and what they ended up with was a revolver that weighed in at just over 11 ounces. This one I think is 11.3 ounces, so less than 3/4 of a pound for a revolver that's chambered for the 38 Smith & Wesson cartridge, or excuse me, the 38 Smith & Wesson Special cartridge. I need to get the name right. So you had still a good defensive firearm that was very light and very compact, and these things were extremely popular. Now, I should probably mention at this point in the video that the 342, at least this version of the 342, is no longer produced. There are, however, several revolvers in the Smith & Wesson line that are similar to the 342. They have the same qualities as far as the titanium cylinder and the alloy frame that you can still purchase. So these revolvers, or very similar revolvers, are out there. So with all that out of the way, let's take a closer look at the 342. In general, the 342 follows the lines of the standard J-frame revolvers. This is a member of the Centennial series, and you can tell because it has the concealed hammer. The revolver does in fact have a hammer, but it is enclosed in the rear portion of the frame. It is a 5-shot 38 special revolver, and again it has the two-piece barrel. You can see there the steel liner inside the alloy shroud. And the real beauty of this revolver, actually there are several things that make this revolver just a wonderful carry revolver. First off, the lines of the Centennial series, and I mentioned this in my review of the Model 940, make this extremely snag resistant. If you're drawing this from concealment, there really just isn't much to snag or catch on pockets or clothing or anything else. Secondly, it is a double action only revolver. It really doesn't get any simpler or any more difficult than a point and click system for trying to defend yourself. The sights are fixed, so we don't have to worry about sights getting out of adjustment. And it is extremely light, extremely compact, and a very easy to carry revolver that is still adequate for defensive applications. So why is the 342 my most carried firearm? Simply because it is the easiest firearm in my entire collection to carry. This firearm literally disappears in a pocket. You don't notice it's there, you don't feel the weight, but if you need it, it's always just as handy as that. Very easy to carry revolver. Also, the 342, as I mentioned a moment ago, is chambered for the 38 Special cartridge. With this particular revolver, I like Spears ammunition that is designed specifically for short-barreled firearms. It is a 135 grain plus P loading, and it works very well out of this revolver. The downsides to this revolver are very few. One is the criticism you get with all small frame revolvers: you only have 5 shots. Now, most of the time, in most situations, if you find yourself needing a firearm for defensive purposes, 5 shots is probably going to be enough. A lot of people in their mind have this idea that they're going to be in a shootout with Al-Qaeda or something like that, or ISIS. Probably not. Probably you're going to be defending yourself from one or two people with some kind of evil intent. This is the firearm that in the summertime, when I'm wearing a t-shirt and shorts or something along those lines, that I can drop this in an inside the waistband holster and it's not going to pull down an elastic waistband on a pair of shorts. Or as I did a moment ago, if I'm running to the store, which is something I did just last night, and on the way out the door, I grabbed this revolver, so I've got something with me. It's a quick trip, going to be gone for a few minutes. Probably I'm going to make it there and back without having to get involved in a shootout, but still I'm able to grab this and have a firearm with me so that if something drastic happened, I am armed and prepared to defend myself. Another thing you have to be aware of with the 342 is it does have an ammunition limitation. And in fact, that ammunition limitation is printed right on the side of the barrel where it says 38 Smith & Wesson Special plus P jacketed. If you're using plus P ammunition in this revolver, you should use jacketed bullets. If you use a lead bullet in your ammunition and it's plus P loading, because the revolver is so light and the recoil impulse is so quick, the bullets can start to separate themselves from the casing. If that condition gets severe enough and the bullet protrudes from the end of the cylinder, it can bind the cylinder and keep the cylinder from rotating. So for that reason, if you're using plus P ammunition, you should make sure that it's a good jacketed bullet load. Along those same lines, the recoil impulse with the 342 is noticeable. It is definitely a sharper recoil impulse than you would have with a heavier revolver, even a heavier J-frame for that matter. So it is something you have to practice with from time to time and make sure that you are prepared to adequately deal with that recoil impulse and be able to recover quickly enough for follow-up shots and be able to place your shots accurately. The other caveat with the 342 comes with cleaning. Specifically with the titanium cylinder, you cannot use an abrasive material to try to clean it off. That will damage the cylinder and reduce its lifetime. What I do when I clean this is generally I use a nylon brush inside the charge holes. I use a nylon brush on the cylinder itself, and I take off as much as that'll take off, and whatever stays, stays there. I do not use lead bullets in this particular revolver, so I don't have to worry about having lead build up on the front of the cylinder that I have to try to clean off before it causes some kind of problem. Cleaning it that way, I've never had a problem. I purchased this revolver in 2004. I do not shoot it a tremendous amount. This is the definition of the carried a lot, not shot very often firearm. Probably in that 13 odd years, I have less than 1,000 rounds through this revolver, probably somewhere in the 500, 600, 700 rounds that I've fired through it. So I fired enough to stay competent with it, but it's not something I take out on every outing or every trip to the range to do some shooting with. But again, this is the revolver that goes with me more times of the year, more seasons, in more different kinds of clothing than any other firearm in my collection. So that's enough talking about the 342. Let's go out, put it through its paces at the range, and see how it performs. Okay, folks, we're out here on the range with the 342. In a couple of minutes, we're going to start to put it through its paces. I'm going to do a few different drills, and just to give an overall idea of the performance of this little pistol. The drill I'm going to start out with is an old revolver drill. I'm going to be shooting from 7 yards. This was originally designed for a 6-shot revolver, and the idea is to deal with 2 adversaries as quickly as possible. So what I'm going to do with a 6-shot revolver, you shoot 1 target with 1 round, you go to the other target, put 3 rounds on it, and then come back to the first target and put 2 more. Since this is only a 5-shot revolver, I'm going to go 1, 3, and then 1 more. And we'll see just how quick we can protect ourselves from 2 different bad guys using just the 5-shot J-frame 342. And just that fast, and I was not trying to speed shoot this by any stretch of the imagination. I pulled 1 shot low there, but we got 1 good shot, 3 good shots, another good shot over here. So I've disabled and potentially stopped 2 bad guys from whatever their evil intentions were just that quick with a 5-shot revolver. I may go back and check the time on that when I edit the video, but I would say I probably shot all 5 of those shots in maybe 3 seconds, give or take. How about a failure drill with the 342? 2 shots to the body, 1 shot to the head. I'll do this a couple of different times. Okay, full disclosure here, the first failure drill kind of sucked. I'm going to try that again on the other target. I'll show you the first one also, but I'm going to try it one more time on the second target, see if I can make it look a little bit better. And they were a little bit better the second time around. Let's take a look at the targets. And here's the first target. The body shots were no problem whatsoever. One headshot I went a little bit high, the other one I jerked way down here. So, and I've said this before, this is why we practice. This looks a little bit better. Good body shots there. Came up here. Good headshot. Pulled the other one a little bit low, not too bad. Down toward the bottom of the neck. I have a feeling he'd still know he got hit with something. That's one thing with the double action revolver. You do have to control that double action trigger, and with the short sight radius of the 1 7/8 inch J frame, there's not a lot of room for error there. Some people have the idea that for some reason small revolvers are easier to shoot than larger firearms. Actually, it's pretty much just the reverse that's true. Okay, how about a cylinder dump this time? We're just going to do a double tap and a triple tap right into the center mass of the body. No problem that time, keeping those shots in the center of the body. Firing them off at a fairly rapid shot tempo. How about if we try to work on some precision this time, and I'll fire all 5 of the shots into the head. And I'd say those 5 shots should have gotten his attention. Okay folks, I'm back at 50 feet now. I've only got a few rounds left, so I'm going to try a few shots from back here just to try a little longer range shooting with the 342. Again, trying to keep with that idea of precision shooting with this little revolver. When I fire these rounds, I'm going to intentionally aim low on the target just so we can differentiate these 3 shots from the other shots that are already up here in the center. Yeah, not too bad for the little revolver. I've got 2 shots almost touching, 1 shot a little higher from 50 feet with that short barrel, short sight radius. I'm pretty happy with that. And that's pretty much going to do it, folks, for my review of the Smith & Wesson 342 Airlite TI. Again, my most carried firearm. As you can see from the shooting, it's not difficult to keep your shots on a man-sized target. For something to throw in your pocket when you're running to the store, have inside your waistband when you're wearing those elastic waistband shorts in the summertime, you could do a whole lot worse than one of these. They are drop-dead reliable. I don't recall any kind of a malfunction ever with this revolver. The closest thing to a malfunction it ever had was when I first got it, the front sight was too high, so I was hitting low. I got a hold of Smith & Wesson, ended up sending it back to them. They put a higher front sight on, a lower front sight on, that raised the point of impact, and the revolver shoots point of aim, point of impact today. Again, very fine revolver, very good carry gun. Once more, these are currently out of production, so unless you find one used, you're not going to walk into a gun store and find one just like this, but there are similar revolvers in the line these days. Some of those are chambered for .357 Magnum. I think this is better off as a .38 Special. It maintains some controllability, it's not unpleasant to shoot, and I just really like this little revolver in case you can't tell. So anyway, that's the video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, leave those below. And until next time, good shooting. Bye-bye.